The girl who speaks 9 languages. The millionaire laughs, but is left in shock at midnight. In a small, bustling town, a mystery filled the air as the clock struck 12. A girl, barely past her teenage years, stood outside a luxurious mansion, her laughter echoing against the rich wood and granite facade. But there was something odd about her, a glimmer in her eye, a spark of insanity perhaps. She spoke 9 languages fluently, switching from Spanish to Mandarin in the blink of an eye, as if they were mere toys in her hands. The millionaire, a self-proclaimed king of the business world, leaned back in his leather chair and let out a mocking laugh. What's next? A magic trick? But little did he know, this girl was about to alter everything he believed. The wealthy elite gathered that night, clinking their glasses and exchanging polished pleasantries. A murmur rippled through the crowd. What was this girl doing here? She didn't belong. They viewed her through narrowed eyes, yawning with disbelief. She's just a trickster, some sneered, while others whispered conspiratorial jokes. But as she spun tales in Parisian French and Italian with the kind of ease that made hearts flutter, a hushed awe descended upon the onlookers. Color drained from the millionaire's face, and tension hung thick in the air as the girl threw back her head and laughed, unaware of how her skill was slicing through layers of arrogance. Then, silence. All eyes were glued to her, captivated. She didn't stop. Instead, she began speaking in a language no one recognized, a strange melody that felt like a cryptic song. How could she do this? Where did this come from? The questions bounced around like wild bees atop the crowd. What is she saying? A woman gasped, clutching her pearls. Suddenly, a gust of cold air blew through the room, as if seeping in from another dimension, sending chills down their spines. It wasn't just her ability one had to fear. There was something strange, almost magical, threading through the whispered words spilling from her lips. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the laughter faded, the millionaire's facade cracked, revealing a frightened man hiding behind bravado. The girl's gaze pierced through him, her voice rising. The room spun with tension. Chills ran given their once simple evening had transformed into something far beyond comprehension. You mock what you don't understand, she declared, her words drumming against everyone's chest like a fragile heart. The flicker of understanding danced in her eyes, but before anyone could grasp it, the lights dimmed. A shadow swept across the room, and just like that, she vanished. Questions cascaded in the aftermath. Was she a genius? A fraud? Or connected to forces none could fathom? With the millionaire standing frozen, the night's laughter turned into gasps, leaving the echo of her voice lingering, beckoning anyone brave enough to follow. What secrets did she hold beneath her playful demeanor, and could they dare to chase after her? The night was shrouded in darkness, but an electrifying sense of hope intertwined with mystery hung heavily in the air, urging them to seek the truth. The room was silent, a thick blanket of tension woven from confusion and disbelief. The millionaire stood at the center, his mouth agape, as if he had just witnessed a magician's greatest trick, only this wasn't a trick. He felt the weight of eyes on him, a mixture of curiosity and judgment that burned like the late-night glow of 1,000 candles. Where did she go? A man murmured, trying to piece together reality. Eyes darted across the room, searching every corner, every shadow. But there was nothing. The girl had disappeared into thin air. Whispers began to swell, a rising tide of panic. Is she even real? Another voice quivered. The words hung in the air, thick and cloying. The millionaire clenched his fists, trying to shake the chill creeping into his spirit. Someone finally dared to move, breaking the spell. A woman in a shimmering dress stepped toward the balcony, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. She peered outside, hoping to catch a glimpse of the girl. But the night was dark and unwelcoming, holding its secrets close. Then, From the depths of that shadowy expanse, a voice pierced the silence, a melodic echo that sent chills racing back down their spines. You cannot dismiss what you do not understand. With each word, the crowd held its breath, feeling the intensity of her presence loom just beyond the confines of the mansion's walls. They could almost see her, a wraith-like figure dancing just beyond their sight, taunting them with her enigma. What does she want? The millionaire spat, feeling his authority slip through his fingers like sand. The laughter of the crowd had morphed into awkward murmurs and shaky breaths, each person wrestling with their own doubts and hidden fears. Meanwhile, outside the mansion, the girl stood alone, the wind tousling her hair like playful fingers. She felt exhilarated, her heart racing with the power she had wielded inside. It was more than just words and languages. Tonight, she had unleashed something else, a truth hiding just below the surface, something that demanded to be seen, felt, and understood. She could almost hear the thoughts swirling within the walls. Who is she? Why does she have this power? But she wasn't finished. Not yet. Suddenly, she turned her gaze to the balcony, locked on the millionaire's tense figure. There was something about him, an unfolding mystery she sensed deeply. He was not merely a man of wealth. He was a man afraid of losing everything that defined him. The realization sent a thrill coursing through her. If he thought he could mock her and get away with it, he was in for a rude awakening. "Follow me," she beckoned softly, the challenge wrapping around her words. "If you dare face the truth." The crowd gasped again. It was not an invitation, it was a dare, a taunt that hung tantalizingly in the air. Longing and trepidation swirled within them, forming a storm that begged to be unleashed. The millionaire's heart raced. What lay beyond this girl's veil of mystery? What secrets would unfold if he dared to follow her? Could he break free from his own constraints and uncover the truth hidden in her captivating laugh? As the night thickened, darkness enveloped the mansion, while the people inside exchanged fearful glances, caught between their desire for understanding and the sweet pull of ignorance. And just like that, the fight for the truth began. But what remained unsaid, lurking just beneath the surface, hinted at greater dangers and deeper revelations waiting to surface. What if she wasn't the only one with secrets to share? What if the very foundation of their lives hinged on truths yet to be spoken? The air crackled with tension. One choice remained. Would they follow her into the unknown, or dare to remain fearful and chained to their ignorance? The millionaire's gaze locked onto the dark expanse where the girl stood. Shadows flickered, wrapping around her like a cloak, drawing him in against his will. The mansion's opulent interior felt stifling now, a cage of gold and silk, while the promise of the unknown loomed just outside in the night air. Is anyone going to follow her? The voice was a timid whisper. The woman's glimmering dress reflected the flickering candlelight, casting wavering shadows across her anxious face. Do we trust her? A man replied, his voice a mix of skepticism and fear. Can we afford not to? The millionaire felt adrenaline pulse through him. Every instinct screamed to pull back, to protect himself from whatever storm this girl threatened to unleash. Yet he was drawn to her in a way he couldn't explain. Was it the allure of power, or the glimpse of a deeper truth? We need to know. He found himself shouting, the cascade of fear and anticipation overwhelming his mind. He stepped forward, and the room fell silent, eyes shifting toward him like a spotlight. The other guests watched, a spectrum of emotions: fear, curiosity, and disbelief playing across their faces like a flickering flame. Then let us go? He surged through the throng, pushing toward the balcony, his heart thumping like a drum. He could feel cold sweat trickling down his back. The sense of danger was palpable, yet exhilarating. As he reached the edge, the night loomed vast and dark. I'll follow her. The words escaped him, strong and defiant, sparking a chain reaction. One by one, faces turned, people stepping out into the night. Chilled air wrapped around them, spine tingling, as they descended the steps toward the garden below. The girl stood waiting, silhouetted against the moonlight, an otherworldly figure with secrets etched into the very sound of her voice. I knew you would come, she said, a smirk playing on her lips. You can't resist the pull of the unknown. What the hell is this about? One of the men shouted, frustration bubbling beneath his bravado. It's about facing what you've tried to ignore. Her voice danced like smoke, the words heavy with implications. She stepped closer, the air thickening with tension. You all think you're safe in your golden cages, don't you? But truth has a way of breaking down those walls. What truth? The millionaire pressed, impatience igniting in his chest. Hasn't he the world you built shown you its cracks? She gestured widely, as if to encompass everything they held dear. You think your wealth shields you, but it just adds weight to your chains. A tremor ran through the crowd, old fears surfacing. Some shifted uneasily, staring at their manicured lawns, their expensive suits feeling suddenly constricting. Whispers women had traded as gossip in daylight now felt like serrated knives. Listen to what she is saying. The woman in the shimmering dress urged, fear mingling with the thrill of discovery. This is our chance to understand what? The millionaire cut in, his heart pounding hard enough to drown her out. What could she possibly know about my life? Everything, the girl replied, unwavering. More than you realize. Her gaze shifted right at him. You think you control everything, but you're the most controlled of all. Silence fell over them. The weight of that truth settled in, smothering. This moment felt crucial, tipping on the edge of revelation, but in the rippling shadows of their insecurities, an unsettling energy stirred, awakening the very fears they tried to suppress. With a single step into the uncertain night, they ventured closer to her, but what awaited them? Would they find liberation or uncover hidden horrors that would lead them spiraling into chaos? As she began to walk, the group hesitated, uncertainty swirling in their minds. What lay ahead would test not just their perceived realities, but the very essence of who they were willing to become. And at that moment, beneath the watchful eye of the moon, it was clear. They were all about to learn that understanding might come at a greater cost than any of them had ever imagined. What would they sacrifice in the name of truth? The closing shadows began to grip tighter, and the first challenge was about to begin. The girl moved through the garden like a wraith, her silhouette flickering against the moonlight. The guests followed, drawn by an intoxicating mix of fear and curiosity. As they walked, the manicured hedges became twisted shapes in the dark, whispering secrets of their own. The air grew heavier, thick with unsaid words and hidden regrets. Where are we going? One of the women called out, her voice trembling, cutting through the night's oppressive silence. To the truth, she replied, glancing over her shoulder, her eyes glimmering in the pale light. The confidence in her voice was unsettling. The millionaire felt unease churn in his stomach. What kind of truth? He demanded, irritation spilling over. He wasn't used to being in the dark, literal or metaphorical. The girl stopped suddenly, spinning to face them. The kind that unravels the lies you tell yourselves. She shot back. A ripple passed through the crowd, and he saw the fear in their eyes. It felt like each question could unravel everything, like a loosely tied thread on a fine suit. They had built walls around their lives, but now those same walls felt like they were closing in. Enough with the riddles. Another man shouted, anxiety boiling over. Just tell us what you want. I want you to face yourselves. Her words sliced through the tension. Each of you hides behind titles and wealth like it's a shield, but it can't protect you from what lies beneath. She stepped even closer, a predator, and they, her prey. Tonight, I will show you what you've buried deep inside. Standing at the brink of an ornate fountain, she extended her hand as if to beckon them forward, but a darkness flickered behind her, an unsettling truth that lurked just beneath the surface. He could almost taste it, sharp and metallic, rising from the earth like dread. Why should we trust you? The woman in the shimmering dress urged, the spark of courage igniting her voice. Because the truth hurts more than the comfort of lies, the girl replied. You think you own your lives, but you're merely pawns in a game far larger than you can imagine. It's time to confront what you fear the most. The millionaire felt a tightening in his chest. Each word pushed at the boundaries he had claimed in life. Who was this girl to disrupt everything he had carefully built? But still, he couldn't ignore the intrigue that twisted with the tension. What do you know about us? He shot back defensively, resistant yet compelled. Everything, she repeated slowly, like a solemn incantation. For every secret you keep, there is a consequence waiting in the shadows. What if I told you that a financial empire is built on lies and betrayal? A collective gasp swept through the group, shock rippling like thunder. The millionaire froze, visions flashing through his mind, closure deals, hidden contracts, trust betrayed. Without waiting for a response, she turned, leading them deeper into the garden. The air thickened, electricity buzzing around them. Or was that fear? Each step felt like walking a tightrope, teetering between revelation and peril. Suddenly, laughter rang out a chilling echo against the silence. It came from somewhere deep within the dark foliage. The guests froze, exchanging bewildered glances. What was that? One man whispered, his voice a quiver of terror. Just the truth laughing back at you. The girl replied cryptically, a smile creeping onto her lips. The shroud of apprehension enveloped them, and as they moved closer, glimmers of moonlight danced upon the surface of the fountain, revealing something neither wanted to see. Reflections of their guilt stared back, fearful, distorted faces trapped in a web of their own making. Stop! The millionaire shouted, the urge to flee battling with his curiosity. But the girl stood firm, unwavering. Face it, she insisted, her voice grounding them amidst the chaos of self-exposure. Only then can you begin to break your chains. Dread pulled in the pit of his stomach, and he realized that stepping into this darkness was not just about facing her, but facing himself. As the shadows crawled closer, each person realized they were teetering on the edge of a revelation that could either liberate or consume them entirely. And as the laughter faded, a new sound sliced through the tension, a low rumble, like the earth awakening. Was it the truth finally coming to light, or something much darker lurking just beyond their grasp? Would they dare to discover what awaited them in the darkness? The laughter returned, more sinister this time, rising like a horde from the depths of the garden shadows. The millionaire's heart raced. It was as if the darkness itself was mocking him, highlighting everything he fought to conceal. He glanced at the others, eyes wide, mouths parted as they stood enraptured, or perhaps paralyzed by fear. Enough, he bellowed, frustration boiling over. The group was devolving into a collective state of panic, and he alone felt the urgency to regain control. We can't let some girl manipulate us into digging up the past. You misunderstand, she replied, her voice calm but edged with authority. This isn't manipulation. It's liberation. You're shackled by your past. Tonight, we can break those chains. Her gaze locked onto his, and for a moment, he felt stripped bare, exposed before her, as raw as an open wound. I don't need liberation, he snapped back, though his conviction wavered. The laughter continued, echoing around them like distant thunder, and anguish crept up his spine. Suddenly, the wind picked up, whipping through the garden, tossing leaves like spirits dancing for their release. The fountain bubbled violently, casting droplets that glimmered like stars against the oppressive night, every splash a reminder of their collective guilt. Stop this. You don't know me, he shouted, but he felt hollow, the truth lurking close enough to touch. Don't I? Or is that just your fear speaking? She countered, a half-smile dancing on her lips, as if she relished this psychological duel. When was the last time you allowed yourself to feel anything real? The other guests flinched, their faces pale, caught between wanting to flee and wanting to stay. It was a strange dance of humanity, vulnerability exposed amidst their wealth and status. The millionaire could see their own fears reflected in the water. I have debts, risks, things to lose. One of the men stammered, backing away, eyes darting to find a way out. Only things you're afraid to lose, she fired back, stepping forward defiantly, forcing their collective gaze back to the fountain. What about your souls? What have you sacrificed for all this? Her words sunk in deeper, pricking old wounds. The millionaire's clenched fists shook with realization. Her probing questions were drowning him. It felt like drowning in a sea of shame, and he couldn't quite remember the last time he truly breathed. And in that moment, she pointed to the fountain. Look closer, she demanded, and they all leaned forward, mesmerized. The surface shimmered and shifted, transforming into a reflection of their past screams, betrayals, whispered secrets formed in imagery they could barely comprehend. That's not real, a woman cried, stepping back in horror. Tell me more, the girl pressed, her voice a provocative whisper. Tell me about the deals that went bad, the friends you've lost, the betrayals you allowed to flourish. The millionaire felt his breath hitch. A wave of anger surged, but beneath it lay something grim and familiar, fear of being unmasked. Would they really peel back the layers of their lives tonight? He wanted to run, to scream at her to stop, to laugh nervously at the surrealism of it all. But instead, he felt the ground shift beneath his feet, an unsettling tremor that suggested more than just trepidation, something about to rupture. The fountain's water bubbled higher, grasping at the edges like desperate fingers trying to pull him in. The laughter became a crescendo, almost deafening, pushing him to confront what lay hidden in the depths. "Are you willing to embrace your truth?" she asked, a challenge echoing in her tone, eyes glowing with fierce determination. "Or will you run from it, forever haunted by shadows?" Silence wrapped around them, thick and cloying. The tension was palpable. Fear or truth, which would they choose? Just then, a loud crack echoed through the garden. The ground beneath them fissured, breaking into darkness, a gaping maw. The guests screamed, scrambling back as the garden seemed to shift, their sanctuary transforming into an abyss. The millionaire stared into the void, feeling time slow as the choice loomed over him. He could flee, but what would he become? Or could he take a step forward, into the unknown, facing the very abyss that promised his truth? And as the whispers of the past crawled closer, he felt a single question slicing through the chaos. What awaited them in the darkness? The ground trembled beneath their feet, cracks spiderwebbing outward as the laughter crescendoed, weaving an almost tangible thread of agony in the air. The millionaire felt his heart pound, each beat a reminder of something he was desperate to forget. Around him, those he once considered friends were now cowering like children, lost in a nightmare. "Run! Get out!" one of the women shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos like shattered glass. But no one moved. They were all frozen, hypnotized by the darkness yawning at their feet. "Don't flee from your truths," the girl called, her voice rising above the panic, holding an unshakable authority. "The only way out is through." The millionaire's breath was short, labored. In that moment, he felt the full weight of his past settling over him like a heavy blanket. He wanted to scream, wanted to deny everything, but the shell he had built around himself was fragile, crackling under pressure. "Can't we just go?" someone else begged, a tremor in their voice. "Can't we just forget?" "But it won't let you," the girl said, her eyes now aflame with conviction, as if she were the fire that could cleanse their corruption. "You can't outrun a truth that has been buried too deep." And then, from the fissure in the ground, a low murmur began to rise, growing louder as if the earth itself was calling out. Shadows coalesced, whispering violent secrets, and the millionaire clenched his fists tighter, fighting the urge to cave into darkness. "Let it out," the girl demanded suddenly, her intensity sharpening the focus of the group. "What are you ashamed of? What do you fear the most?" An elderly man stepped forward hesitantly, eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "I betrayed my son," he admitted, voice shaking as if each word were a falling stone. "I refused to back him when he needed me most." With that admission, the ground trembled again, sending a spray of dirt and stones into the air. The whispers grew more fervent, more frantic, as shadows surged and retreated at the edges of their vision. The millionaire felt a chill in his bones. For each truth revealed, the rift in the earth seemed to pulse with life, demanding more. Another voice broke through the woman who had cried out in horror earlier. She stepped trembling into the light. "I sabotaged my own best friend's career, all for jealousy," she shrieked, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I destroyed her future." The laughter twisted, mixed now with cries of anguish. There was power in vulnerability, and the millionaire could feel it vibrating in the air, creating a terrifying cocktail of exhilaration and fear. Their pasts were spilling from the cracks, clawing its way to the surface, and he could almost feel the hot breath of their failings against his skin. Unchecked emotions spiraled around him like a dangerous storm. Another guest fell to her knees, sobbing. "I had an affair. I couldn't stop myself." The ground roared, and the shadows twisted and flickered like flames. Each accusation ignited a new fire within the abyss, giving substance to their deepest regrets and darkest secrets. The millionaire felt the urge to join in, to release the screams that felt chained inside him. But as he looked into the abyss, eyes wide, begging to swallow him whole, a flicker of indecision froze him still. "Why don't you?" the girl pressed gently, eyes piercing into his very soul, peeling back layers he had long kept buried. "What is holding you back?" For a moment, silence fell heavier than before. He opened his mouth, but found no words. His thoughts crashed like waves, threatening to drag him under. Just when he thought he might finally break, the earth quaked once more, and a shadow surged closer, whispering promises of absolution. And in that heart-stopping moment, all eyes turned toward him, waiting. Beneath the weight of their collective pain, the shadows beckoned. What is your truth? His heart pounded. Could he face it? The ground roared underfoot, shaking with urgency. Would he finally embrace his truth, or would he allow fear to silence him forever? As the laughter crescendoed once more, a chilling voice whispered in the dark, "Choose wisely, for the shadows are hungry and they will not wait." The millionaire's heart raced, a tidal wave of anxiety crashing over him. The crowd held its breath, their eyes wide with a mix of expectation and dread. Shadows danced close, eager for a morsel of his deepest fear. He felt trapped, a tight knot in his gut threatening to pull him under. The girl stood firmly, an unyielding force in the chaos, her gaze unwavering. "Tell us," she urged, her voice cutting through the thick tension like a knife. But how could he share the truth buried within him? Would they see him differently? Would they shun him? Each regret he sifted through felt like a sharp blade, slicing deeper into his already battered soul. The shadows, oh, how they beckoned. They lurked, hungrily whispering secrets of his past. Memories rushed at him, fractured and jagged. He opened his mouth to speak, but the phantoms of his past mocked him, an echo chamber of doubt. They became a cacophony, a ballad of mistakes that played louder with every flick of shadow. He pressed his hands to his temples, wishing desperately to drown them out. "Let it go?" The girl's voice was softer now, almost soothing, but stern. "You'll feel lighter, I promise." Sweat beaded on his forehead as he searched the faces around him, twisted by fear, yet desperate for connection. Yet, the weight of their collective misery hung heavily. He longed to share the burden, to let it roll off his shoulders. The whispers squirmed like insects in his mind, reminding him of the many times he had stepped over others to rise. He remembered the contracts ignored, relationships severed, and the hollow victories that stained his conscience. "Speak." Another voice joined in, a man with eyes glazed with desperation. "We're all waiting." The millionaire inhaled sharply, summoning courage from the swirling darkness. He could almost feel the tendrils of the shadows wrapping tighter around him, pulling him toward the precipice of self-revelation. Taking a shaky breath, he stepped forward as if drawn by an invisible thread. "I neglected my daughter," he stammered, voice barely a whisper. "When she needed me, I was too focused on what?" The girl interjected, her intensity intensifying. "Money? Power? Yes." The word shot out of him, stark and raw. "I thought if I could build something great, she would be proud. But I missed out on everything. Birthdays, school plays. She hates me now." The ground quaked, rumbling beneath him as if echoing the heartache of countless forgotten dreams. The shadows recoiled, momentarily stunned by the truth's potency. A palpable silence enveloped them, all eyes riveted on him. It felt empowering, yet terrifying, like standing naked in the spotlight. But in that moment of shared vulnerability, something flickered within him, a dawning realization that he was no longer alone in his pain. Before he could bask in it, another figure emerged from the shadows, her face twisted with anguish. "I took money from the charity," she wailed, spilling her confession like blood on a white cloth. "I stole from those in need to fund my lavish lifestyle." The millionaire felt the ground shake again. The air fizzed with energy as more souls began to spill their truths. Each admission ignited the darkness, the shadows writhing with a frenetic energy against the confessions that were pouring out. He watched, transfixed, as more secrets unfolded, like dominoes falling. Each truth cracked open the ground wider, creating fissures where darkness and light battled fiercely. Could he let go of more? The girl turned her gaze towards him, an encouraging smile painting her lips. "You're almost there. What else do you need to tell?" The walls within him felt like they were about to collapse. The shadows shifted, hungry for more, whispering promises laced with deceit. But with those truths came the possibility of freedom. Just when he thought he might gather the strength to speak again, a thunderous roar from the rift shook him, drowning the room in a deep and resonating demand for more. And in that crushing moment, a chill settled over the gathering, silencing the cries. What if What if the realization of your truth leads to a consequence you never imagined? The whisper echoed in the dark. Would the earth swallow them whole before they could face the reckoning? Would his truth prove to be more monstrous than the shadows? As uncertainty churned in the air, the realization gripped him he was closer to his truth, but there's a cost. What would he unleash if he let go completely? The millionaire's breath came in sharp gasps, each heartbeat pounding like a drum against his ribcage. The whispers wrapped around him, a cold embrace that constricted tighter with every passing moment. What if the shadows were right? What if his truth ignited a storm he couldn't control? The girl's encouraging smile dwindled, uncertainty creeping into her eyes. She was just a girl, yet here she was, coaxing out the darkest corners of his soul. He glanced at the others, tortured faces like mirrors reflecting his dread. They waited, eager and anxious, minds racing with their own confessions yet to be spoken. Then, within that thick silence, another figure stepped from the shifting darkness. A man with hollowed cheeks and eyes glazed by despair. I cheated, I lied for years. His voice trembled like a shattered glass. All to maintain my image. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The air felt electric, charged with a desperate need for release. The man continued, I tell myself I'm helping others, but really, I just wanted to be loved. He stumbled backward, hands raised as if ready to shield himself from judgment. I'm just a fraud. The crowd stirred, murmurs of sympathy mingling with a disapproving hum. A woman stepped up to him, tears running down her cheeks. You're not alone. We all wear masks. Her voice was barely above a whisper. But removing them, it's terrifying. The shadows pressed closer, drawn in by the agony of despair, but still the voices fought through. Feeling anchored by their confessions, the millionaire's own truth clawed at him once more. The eruption of admissions around him hypothesized nothing but chaos. Each secret unleashed another wave of haunting memories. He remembered every sacrifice made for wealth, every moment lost in pursuit of power. I can't do this, he finally yelled, hands wrestling with his hair as fatigue swept over him. I can't. They hate me. This isn't therapy. The girl stepped toward him, her eyes forged with resolve. It's all part of the healing. You'll feel the weight lift. But you have to choose, stay quiet and be consumed, or speak and break free. Could he really let go? A momentary doubt stung him sharp. The shadows laughed. His vision began to blur, the faces of fellow confessors distorting, fusing into one agonized visage. Images of his daughter came rushing back, her laughter, the way she'd look up at him with bright, hopeful eyes now dwindled and tarnished by regret. They deserve to know the truth, he murmured, fighting against the gnawing instinct to retreat back into silence. I deserve to be heard. The room ignited with anticipation as they leaned in closer. He took a deep breath and clenched his fists. But before he could complete the thought, a sudden crash resonated from somewhere deep within the shadows, vibrating through the air like an earthquake. The building shook, and then silence, a thick, suffocating silence, fell. What had he unleashed? Deep in the depths of the shadows, something loomed, something far worse than the confessions that had come to light. Eyes filled with dread widened as the unseen presence breathed, ramming more fear deep into their hearts. The girl's expression shifted, a sheer glimpse of panic slicing across her calm demeanor. Everyone, stay still, she shouted, but the tremor of her voice almost cracked. Then a figure stepped forward from the chaos. Its face remained cloaked, just a silhouette against the pulsating darkness. Is this really what you want? To face the truth is to face the consequences, the million-dollar question loomed. What strings did he still hold? And what darkness awaited should he finally unleash the full extent of his truth? Tension electrified the air, leaving the millionaire on the brink. Now, every soul there seemed to sense that what lay ahead was from the deepest recesses of human frailty, waiting to be unearthed. What else could unearth in the depths of their guilt? What would the shadows demand in return? The shadows surged forward, consuming the space with a palpable dread. The cloaked figure remained, a dark guardian of the chaos surrounding them, and as it drew closer, the crowd instinctively recoiled, fear splaying across their faces like wildfire. Do you not understand? The figure hissed, voice smooth yet raw, laden with echoes of unearthed fears. Every truth you reveal holds power, and power demands a price. The words hung heavy in the air, tightening around them like a vice. The millionaire's heart raced. Each thud beat louder than the last. What was this price? He glanced at the girl, the warmth of her presence now feeling like a distant memory. Her eyes shone with concern, cutting through the suffocating darkness, but the warmth was fading. Suddenly, she looked almost fragile, a small light flickering amid a gathering storm. Without thinking, he stepped forward. "What do you want from us?" His voice was steadier than he felt. The shadows seemed to whisper in response, incomprehensible and chilling. The figure leaned closer, obscured features betraying no emotion. "All your secrets, stripped bare. That is the price of revealing your truth." Each syllable echoed, as if the shadows were relaying the gravity of the situation. To be free means to lose everything you hold dear, and most of all, to confront the one you fear most yourself. The air crackled with tension, the weight of their collective pasts hanging like a guillotine above their heads. He was torn between wanting to bolt, to escape the suffocating atmosphere, and the gnawing need to understand what lay behind the veil of darkness that shielded the figure. The crowd shifted, anxious murmurs bubbling up as glances darted from face to face. Each person was caught in their web of guilt and regret. The millionaire saw the hollowness in their eyes mirrored in his own reflection. This was no longer just about him. It was about all of them facing the demons that danced just beyond the fringes of the shadows. I want to. A woman cried out, her voice trembling. "I want to lose anyone else. Not to this." Her words hung in the air, a tender yet defiant note amidst the encroaching despair. But what you do not see," the figure continued, undeterred, "is that the things you cling to most bravely protect your heart, but suffocate your soul. The time has come to choose." The chorus of gasps resonated through the crowd, a mixture of panic and interest, the stakes rising higher with every beat of silence that followed. The figure's words were seeds of doubt, sprouting in their minds, urging them to reconsider their current path. The millionaire's throat constricted. What if this darkness offered a glimpse into something real, something raw? Yet the thought of losing everything, the lifestyle, the facade, the glorified illusion, made his stomach churn. Choose now, to confess and unveil your burdens, or to remain shackled by the secrets that suffocate your existence. The figure's voice resonated into a shriek, nails on a chalkboard, and the darkness swelled, a monstrous wave preparing to crash down. The millionaire's hands shook, guilt and fear mingling into a bitter brew. The others were watching him, hoping he would take the plunge, their unrelenting expectance igniting a flicker of resolve deep in his chest. Just then, a blinding light erupted from the edges of the room. The shadows recoiled, hissing and puffing like smoke against a flame. Confusion ensued, and in that chaos, the girl seized the moment, her voice rising above the fray. "We need to fight against this. Together. It doesn't have to end this way." He felt the pulse of her words ignite his spirit, but lurking deep within him remained the tether of doubt. The looming presence of the figure beckoned, and the crowd swayed between hope and despair, clinging to the flicker of light. But who could tell what lay in wait? And how could the shadows be vanquished when the battle for truth had only begun? With their fates hanging in the balance, the million-dollar question remained. Would they rise together or be consumed by the very shadows they aimed to confront? In the heart of the darkness, the millionaire stood at the precipice of his own unraveling. The shadows loomed, enticing him with echoes of guilt and regret, but the girl, radiant as starlight, stood firm against the tide. Her voice cut through the smothering weight, urging everyone to gather their courage. "It's time to break the silence," she shouted. "Let the truth flood these shadows." With eyes locked onto hers, the millionaire felt a surge of warmth wash over him. Here was a tether, an unyielding connection that pulled him away from fear's suffocating grip. He took a deep breath, heart pounding, barely aware of the other guests clenching their fists as they prepared to face their own demons. One by one, they stepped into the light of their confessions. The elderly man spoke first, his voice quivering. "I've held on to a grudge against my brother for decades. I'm so tired of feeling this hate." The ground shook, pulsing with energy as the shadows recoiled slightly, the cracks underfoot widening. "I sabotaged my own dreams." Another shouted, and the ground trembled in response. "I chose safety over passion, and now I'm just empty. With each truth, each quivering confession, the weight of the dark energy shifted, shriveling like autumn leaves kissed by frost. They were climbing from the depth of despair, pushing back against the creeping shadows that had nearly swallowed them whole. Courage, you must fight for it. The girl called out again, eyes ablaze with determination. She turned toward the millionaire, a challenge etched on her face. It's your turn. Taken aback, he hesitated. The energy swirling in the air was alive and charged. Would he expose the wounds created by his ambition? I've betrayed my family. He finally managed, voice breaking through the din of competing confessions. I sacrificed my daughter's love for wealth. I let ambition blind me. Thunder crashed through the garden as shadows recoiled from him. A wave of catharsis washed over the group, dispersing sorrow like fog under sunlight. As the darkness whirled and writhed, the girl stepped closer, her voice strong amid the chaos. You see, we're shaking the very foundation of these shadows. Together, we can dispel the darkness that binds us. Face what you fear. With her encouragement, more confessions spilled forth, a tapestry of human vulnerability weaving through the night air. Hearts raced as they let go. Each revelation peeled back layers of anxiety, holding them captive. They were no longer laughing. They were crying, confiding, and embracing their imperfections, standing shoulder to shoulder. The shadows writhed, struggling to maintain their dominance. The cloaked figure glared, anger bubbling in its eyes. You think mere words can free you? It hissed, desperation clawing at its voice. This is just the beginning of a reckoning. But it's enough. The girl shouted defiantly. Our words are anchors casting out your darkness. We'll break free together. With each synchronized confession, the shadows trembled, revealing fractures in their overwhelming fog. The quiet strength within the crowd surged, and the fears that had long chained them began to crumble. Together, they echoed, standing firm against the creeping dread. The millionaire, anchored by this newfound unity, stepped forward. We choose love. We choose vulnerability. His voice fought against the wicked whispers. The shadows recoiled violently, but now they were no longer insurmountable. The cloaked figure withered, its form cracking as light splintered through. The girl raised her arms, illuminating their connection. This is the liberation we sought. Truth is our weapon. Together, the crowd called again, their collective voice reverberating with strength powerful enough to drown out the darkness. The garden erupted in a blinding flash as light pierced the veil of shadows. The cloaked figure screamed an anguished shriek that echoed against the darkness before it faded away completely. The shadows dissipated, writhing back into nothingness, released from their vice-like grip. In the aftermath, sunlight broke. Through the clouds, golden rays spilling warmth onto the ground, transforming the garden into a sanctuary. Hearts were laid bare, and a powerful sense of hope carried the group weighed down no longer. The girl turned to the millionaire, a smile lighting up her features. You did it. We did it. He nodded, still catching his breath, as relief washed over him. I'm sorry for everything, but I'm ready to make it right. And we'll be right by your side, she promised, and the rest of the group echoed their agreement. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the garden, shadows transformed into vibrant leaves fluttering in the warm wind. They had confronted not only the darkness around them, but also the darkness within. It was a new beginning, filled with possibilities. No longer shackled, they forged forward, embracing their truths together. And as the millionaire looked around, he understood this was only the first step. It was only the beginning of a journey toward healing. He breathed deeply, the weight of the past slowly lifting away, leaving room for something beautiful to grow in its place. The end, but only just the beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I want to hear from all of you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement makes all the difference.